Right now, somewhere in Britain, a man is turning down overtime. Not worth it, he says. The taxman takes it all. And here's the strange thing. Whether he's right depends entirely on which rung of the ladder he's standing on. At 30 grand, he's flat wrong. He keeps 72 pence of every extra pound. At 61 grand with 2 kids, he keeps about 46. And at 105 grand with a baby in nursery, saying yes could genuinely leave his family poorer. Same country, same taxman, 3 completely different answers. So we're going to climb the whole ladder, £20,000 to 150, and I'll show you exactly how much HMRC takes at every level, where the 3 trapdoors are hidden, and the one lever that can help at all 3. By the end you'll know your rung, your real rate, and whether your next pay rise is worth what you think it is. One housekeeping line before we climb. This is England's ladder. Scotland's bands differ, and we're keeping it clean. A standard employee, no student loan, no pension contributions yet. The pension comes back at the end, and it matters more than you think. Start at the bottom, because the bottom is where the biggest myth lives. On £20,000, HMRC takes about 2,080. That's 10.4 pence in the pound. You keep nearly 90. On 30,000, which is roughly the median taxpayer in this country, it's 16 pence in the pound. On 40, about 19. And here's the thing, almost nobody believes until they see it. You have to reach £50,000 before the overall rate even touches 21%. The bottom half of the ladder is taxed far more gently than the anger about tax suggests. So why does it feel worse than that? Because of one word, marginal. Your overall rate is what you pay across everything you earn. Your marginal rate is what happens to the next pound only. And below 50,000, every extra pound loses 28 pence, 20 in income tax, 8 in national insurance. You keep 72. 2 different questions, 2 different numbers, and almost every angry conversation about tax in this country is 2 people answering different questions at each other. Then comes the line. £50,000, £270. Cross it, and the next pound loses 42 pence. That line used to mean something close to rich. On the taxman's own table, it put you around the 80th percentile of taxpayers. But the line has been frozen since 2021, while every payslip in Britain inflated toward it. 3 years ago, 5.1 million people paid the higher rate. Today, it's 7.1 million. 2 million people walked into that band, and not one rate was raised to put them there. If the line had moved with inflation, it would sit near 64,500 today. And past that line, the ladder stops being a ladder and starts hiding trapdoors. Trapdoor 1 opens at 60,000, and only under parents. That's where the child benefit clawback begins. From 60 to 80 grand, the higher earner in the family hands it back, piece by piece. At 60,000 with 2 kids, your marginal rate becomes 53.7%. £1,000 raise? You keep £463.13, and the design has a hole in it you won't believe. It's judged on the higher earner, not the household. 2 parents on 59 grand each, 118,000 coming into the house, keep every penny of child benefit. 1 parent earning 80 on their own loses all of it. Same money, different shape, completely different treatment. Trapdoor 2 opens at 100,000. That's where your tax-free personal allowance starts dissolving, 50 pence of it for every pound above the line. Run the numbers, and between 100,000 and 125, the marginal rate is 62%. From £1,000 raise at 105 grand, you keep £380. Now hold that against the man on 150,000, whose next pound loses only 47 pence. Read that again. The system charges the man on less money a higher rate on his next pound. That's not a conspiracy theory. It's the published table. And trapdoor 3 is the cruelest, because it isn't a slope, it's a cliff. Childcare support, the funded nursery hours and the tax-free childcare top-up, has a single test. £100,000 of adjusted income. At 100,000 exactly, you still qualify for all of it. £1 over and all of it is gone. No taper, no warning. With 1 child under 2, that's about £15,700 of support, vanished overnight, and that's on the government's own funding rates, before real nursery prices make it worse. Do the full maths on that 1 child example, and to end up as well off as you were at 100 grand, you need to earn about 136,000. Between those 2 numbers, every pound of salary is a loss. A 10 grand raise to 110 with a baby in nursery is not a raise. It's a pay cut wearing a congratulations card. Which brings us to the lever, the one that can help at all 3 trapdoors. Your pension. All 3 traps are judged on your adjusted income, and pension contributions come off that number before the judging happens. The man on 105 grand who sends £5,001 of his salary into his pension brings his adjusted income to £99,999. Trapdoor closed. Cliff avoided. And the money isn't gone, it's just being posted to future you. This is why people near these lines get very interested in their pension very quickly. If you're within a raise of 1, you should be 2. So, the top of the ladder, and an honest scoreboard. At 150,000, the overall rate is 39%. Even there you keep about 61 pence of every pound you earn. That's 5 times the salary of the 30 grand worker, paying 12 times the tax. The top 1% of earners pay just under 29% of all income tax collected in this country. And notice something as we step back. Nobody, on any rung, pays an overall rate above 40. The scary numbers in this video all live on narrow slices of the next pound. The whole check is gentler than the headlines. Case closed? Not quite, because the tax system has a second hand and it never touches a payslip. VAT, fuel duty, council tax. Taxes on spending don't care what you earn, so the poorest fifth of households hand over 21% of their income through them. The richest fifth, 7.5%. Add everything together, payslip until receipt and council tax bill, and the poorest fifth of Britain pays 36.7% of its income in tax. The richest fifth pays 36.2%, near enough identical. Count every tax, and Britain flattens out. Almost everyone, top to bottom, hands over about a third. So 3 checks, 10 minutes each. 1. Find your rung. Payslip out, work out your marginal rate, 28, 42, or one of the traps. 2. If you're within a pay rise of 60 grand or 100 grand with kids, do the clawback and childcare maths before you negotiate, and price up the pension lever while you're there. 3. If you're the overtime man, work out what your next hour is actually worth on your rung, then decide. Not from anger, from the table, because that's the whole point of the ladder. The man who turns down overtime at 30 grand because of a rate that only exists at 105 is giving money away. The woman who takes the promotion to 101 with a baby in nursery and no one warning her about the cliff is paying to go to work. This ladder punishes people who feel their way up it and quietly rewards the ones who've read it. Now you've read it. And if you want to know what those frozen thresholds are doing to whole households, not just single payslips, the middle class episode is the other half of this story.